The house on Maple Street wasn't anything special by most standards. A modest 3-bedroom craftsman built in the early 70s, with faded blue paint and a front porch where the swing always creaked. But to Ruth Navarro, it was 43 years of Christmas mornings. It was the place where she'd raised her daughter Marissa after her husband Miguel passed unexpectedly. It was the garden where she'd taught her grandchildren to plant sunflowers and tomatoes that grew taller than they did. Ruth had always said the same thing. This house will be for the little ones someday, so they'll always have a place to come home to. That was the plan anyway, until it wasn't. My name is Ruth Navarro. At least that's what they called me. I was 70 when the stroke hit. It came sudden, like a thief in the night. One moment I was watering my geraniums, the next I was on the ground, the world spinning, half my body refusing to cooperate. The doctors called it a moderate cerebrovascular accident. I called it the day my independence died. I remember Marissa's face at the hospital. My beautiful daughter, trying so hard to be brave. "Mom, you're coming to live with us," she said, squeezing my good hand. "We've got the guest room all set up. It'll just be temporary, until you're better." But we both knew what temporary meant at my age, and we both pretended not to know. The first 6 months with Marissa and her husband Tom weren't so bad. My right side was weaker, but I could still help around the house. I could still make my famous arroz con pollo for Sunday dinners when all the kids came over. I could still be Abuela Ruth. But then came the second stroke. Smaller than the first, the doctors said. Just a minor setback. It didn't feel minor when I couldn't remember the recipe anymore. It didn't feel minor when I needed help bathing. It didn't feel minor when I saw the dark circles under Marissa's eyes, watching her wake up 4 times each night to check on me. "Mom, we can handle this," she insisted, even as Tom worked overtime to pay for my medications, even as their teenage sons took turns helping me to the bathroom when both parents were at work. I heard them arguing late one night. Tom's voice, frustrated but trying to stay quiet. "We can't do this anymore, Marissa. We're not medical professionals. She needs round-the-clock care." "She's my mother, Tom. What am I supposed to do?" "The social worker gave us those brochures. Pinewood Gardens has an excellent memory care unit. Medicare will cover part of it." "And the rest?" "We can barely make our mortgage as it is." They mentioned Medicaid. For people with limited assets, your mom only has the house and her small pension. I pretended to be asleep when Marissa came to check on me that night. But I wasn't asleep. I was thinking about being a burden, about my house sitting empty, about what Miguel would have wanted me to do. The next morning, I told them I wanted to go to Pinewood Gardens. Marissa cried, "Mom, we can make this work. We can hire more help." "No, Mija," I said. "You've done enough. Let the professionals take over now." Tom helped me fill out all the applications. Medicare for the first 100 days. Then, Medicaid after that. The social worker explained that Medicaid would cover my care as long as I met the financial requirements. "What about my house?" I asked. "You'll need to list it as an asset," she said. "But since you intend to return home eventually, it's considered exempt for now." Return home. We all knew that was a fiction, but it made the paperwork easier, so we played along. I signed where they told me to sign. I answered questions about my finances. I listed my house, my car, my small savings account. I didn't understand all the details. Who does at that age? But I trusted the system would take care of me. And I trusted that somehow, my house would still go to my grandchildren, as I'd always promised. Pinewood Gardens wasn't terrible. The staff was kind, even if they were overworked. My room was small but had a window that faced east, so I could watch the sunrise. I made a few friends, joined the crochet circle, complained about the food like everyone else. I remember Clara, my roommate for those 3 years. We'd sit together in the common room, her fingers gnarled with arthritis, but still nimble enough to teach me a new crochet stitch. I made a blanket for Marissa that winter, blue like our house, with Clara guiding my hands on the difficult days when my coordination failed me. When they brought it to her after my passing, I hope she felt my love in every uneven stitch. The years passed, 3 of them. My body got weaker. My mind clouded over sometimes, faces and names drifting away like smoke. But I never forgot my house on Maple Street, never forgot the promise. I didn't know about the lien. How could I? Nobody explained that part to me. Or maybe they did, and it was one of those cloudy days when information slipped through the cracks in my mind. By the time I passed away in my sleep at age 74, the debt to Medicaid had grown to over $180,000. The cost of keeping me alive, comfortable, and cared for. Marissa got the news about the lien 3 weeks after my funeral. I wish I could have seen her face when she opened that letter. Maybe it's better that I couldn't. Marissa Navarro-Collins sat at her kitchen table, staring at the official-looking letter in her hands. Her coffee had gone cold, forgotten once she'd broken the envelope's seal. "This can't be right," she whispered to the empty room. The letter was from the state Medicaid office. It informed her that as the administrator of Ruth Navarro's estate, she needed to be aware that a lien had been placed against her mother's property for the amount of $183,457.22, the total cost of Ruth's care, minus what Medicare and Ruth's small pension had covered. The house would need to be sold, the letter explained, and the proceeds used to repay the Medicaid program before any remaining assets could be distributed to heirs. Marissa read the letter 3 times, her hands beginning to shake. The front door opened and closed. Her husband Tom's voice called out, "I'm home!" "Picked up that Thai food you wanted." When she didn't answer, he appeared in the kitchen doorway, takeout bags in hand. "Marissa, what's wrong?" She looked up, tears forming. "They're taking Mum's house." "What? Who's taking what house?" She handed him the letter. "Medicaid. They paid for Mum's nursing home care, and now they want to be reimbursed. They've put a lien on the house for almost $200,000. Tom set the food down and read the letter, his face growing more concerned with each paragraph. "I don't understand. Your mum owned that house outright. She always said it would go to the kids someday. Well, apparently she signed it away without realizing it." Marissa's voice cracked. "Or we signed it away when we helped her apply for Medicaid. I don't know. I just know that the house that's been in our family for over 40 years is about to be sold to pay back the government." "There has to be a mistake," Tom said, reaching for his phone. "Let me call Jason. He's an attorney. He'll know what to do." Jason Collins was Tom's younger brother, a corporate lawyer who occasionally helped family members with legal matters. He agreed to come over that evening after hearing the urgency in Tom's voice. By the time Jason arrived, Marissa had called her brothers Miguel Jr. and Rafael. They all gathered in the living room, the untouched Thai food still in its containers on the counter. "So let me get this straight," Jason said after reviewing the letter. "Aunt Ruth was on Medicaid for her nursing home care for about 3 years, and now they're claiming her house to recover the costs." "That's the gist of it," Tom confirmed. "And none of you knew this would happen." Jason looked around the room. Miguel Jr., the oldest sibling, spoke up. "I remember something about assets when we were signing Mom up, but honestly, there were so many forms. The social worker mentioned that the house was exempt because Mom might come home someday." "That's called an exemption during the beneficiary's lifetime," Jason explained. "But after death, Medicaid has the right to recover what they spent on long-term care from the estate. It's called estate recovery." "How is this legal?" Rafael demanded, his voice rising. "Mom paid taxes all her life. She worked as a school secretary for 30 years. Now the government just takes her house." It's been federal law since 1993, Jason said quietly. States are required to seek recovery for Medicaid expenses, particularly for nursing home care. Most people just don't know about it until it's too late. Marissa wiped away tears. Mum wanted the grandkids to have that house. She talked about it all the time. It was her legacy. What are our options? Tom asked his brother. Jason sighed. Not many, I'm afraid. You can try to negotiate the amount, but the lien is legal. You could try to fight it on hardship grounds, but that's a long shot. Or you can just sell the house, pay off the lien, and divide whatever's left. And how much would be left? Miguel Jr. asked. Tom and Marissa exchanged glances. They had helped Ruth maintain the property over the years and had a good idea of its value. The house might sell for $275,000 in today's market, Tom said. After paying the lien and closing costs, maybe $70,000 would be left to divide. That's it? Raphael's face flushed with anger. After 43 years, our family legacy amounts to what? Less than $25,000 each? This is robbery. I want to fight it, Marissa said firmly. Mum would have never agreed to this if she'd understood. Fighting means hiring an elder law attorney, not me, Jason cautioned. And it could cost thousands with no guarantee of success. I don't care, Marissa insisted. I'm not just rolling over and letting them take what Mum worked her whole life to pay for. Miguel Jr., always the pragmatic one, shook his head. Marissa, I understand how you feel, but we need to be realistic. Mum needed that care. The government provided it. Now they want to be paid back. So you just want to sell? Just like that? Her voice rose. I'm saying we need to accept reality, Miguel countered. Even if we fight and somehow win, which is unlikely according to Jason, how much will that cost us? We could end up with nothing. It's not about the money, Marissa snapped. It's about Mom's wishes. It's about what she wanted for her grandchildren. And what about what she would want for us? Raphael interjected. You think Mom would want us fighting and tearing the family apart over this? She'd tell us to accept it and move on. The argument continued well into the night. By the time Jason left, promising to make some calls to elder law specialists he knew, the family remained divided. Sell and accept their losses, or fight a system that seemed designed to win. As Marissa lay awake that night, memories flooded back. Helping her mother pack up her belongings for the move to Pinewood Gardens, Ruth insisting they keep certain family heirlooms safe for when she returned home. The unspoken understanding that when actually meant if, and that if was really never. She remembered her mother's voice, weak but determined after the second stroke. I don't want to be a burden, Mija. You have your own family to worry about. Had Ruth known what would happen to her house? Had she understood and kept quiet to spare them worry? Or had she been as much in the dark as they were? Marissa couldn't sleep. Around 3 a.m., she slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Tom. She made her way to the guest room. Mom's room, as they still called it. Ruth's Bible still sat on the nightstand. Marissa opened it, finding comfort in the familiar worn pages covered with her mother's neat handwriting in the margins. A folded piece of paper fell out. Marissa opened it to find a letter in her mother's handwriting, dated 2 weeks after moving to Pinewood Gardens. My dearest Marissa, it began, there are things I couldn't say to your face because I didn't want to see you cry anymore. The letter continued, Ruth explaining that she had spoken with a nurse at Pinewood, whose mother had lost her home to Medicaid after passing. Ruth expressed fear that the same might happen to her house, but wasn't sure how to ask or what to do about it. I signed so many papers, Ruth had written. I don't know what I agreed to, but I want you to know that whatever happens to the house, what matters most is that you children don't fight. Family is more important than bricks and wood. If the house must go to pay for my care, then so be it. Just don't let it come between you and your brothers. Promise me that, Mija." Tears streamed down Marissa's face as she read the final lines. "I love you all more than any house, more than anything in this world. Remember that." Marissa clutched the letter to her chest, her mother's voice so clear in the written words. Ruth had suspected what might happen. She hadn't fully understood it, but she'd had an inkling. And yet, her priority hadn't been the house. It had been them, her children, their unity. The next morning, Marissa called her brothers and read them the letter. There were tears and long silences on both ends of the line. But by the time she hung up, something had shifted. The anger hadn't disappeared, but it had redirected, away from each other, and toward finding a solution that honored their mother's wishes. They needed expert advice, not just legal counsel from a corporate attorney doing a favor for family, but someone who specialized in these matters. Someone who could tell them if there was any way to fight this that wouldn't bankrupt them in the process. Jason came through with a referral to Victoria Sandoval, an elder law attorney who had been practicing for over 20 years. Her consultation fee wasn't cheap, but the siblings agreed it was worth it to understand their options. Victoria's office was small but professional, with certificates covering one wall and family photos on another. She listened patiently as they explained their situation, occasionally nodding or jotting notes. When they finished, she set down her pen and looked at them sympathetically. "What happened to your mother's house is unfortunately very common," she said. "Many families have no idea about Medicaid Estate Recovery until it's too late." "Is there anything we can do?" Marissa asked. "Any way to fight it?" Victoria Sandoval leaned forward, her eyes kind but direct. At its core, Medicaid operates as a loan against the estate for middle-class seniors with homes but limited cash. They let your mother keep her house while she was alive, but they fully expected to recover their costs after her death. It's built into the system this way. "It feels predatory," Miguel Jr. muttered. "It feels predatory," Raphael muttered. "I understand how you feel," Victoria acknowledged. "The program isn't well explained to families in crisis. But from the government's perspective, they're trying to recoup expenses from the estate, rather than refusing care to someone who needs it." "So what can we do now?" Marissa asked. "Your options are limited at this stage," Eleanor said frankly. "You can pay the lien from other sources if you have them, but most families don't have $180,000 sitting around. You can sell the house and pay it from the proceeds, as the letter suggests. You can try to negotiate the amount down, which sometimes works if there are errors in the billing. Or you can attempt to claim an undue hardship waiver, but the standards for that are quite strict." "What about fighting it legally?" Miguel asked. "Claiming Mum didn't understand what she was signing?" Victoria's expression turned sympathetic but firm. "That's an uphill battle. The Medicaid application process includes clear disclosures about estate recovery. They can produce the signed forms, unless you can prove your mother was mentally incapacitated at the time of signing, which is difficult retroactively. A court is unlikely to void the lien." The room fell silent as this reality sank in. "What should we have done?" Marissa finally asked, her voice small. "Was there a way to prevent this?" At this, Victoria leaned forward eagerly. "Yes, absolutely. With proper planning, this situation could have been avoided entirely." She quickly sketched a timeline on her legal pad. Medicaid has a 5-year look-back period for asset transfers. They review all financial transactions for 5 years before the application, and any assets transferred during that time for less than fair market value trigger penalties. "But after that 5-year window?" Tom asked. "Assets transferred more than 5 years before applying for Medicaid are not counted," Victoria confirmed. "If your mother had transferred the house to her children 5 years before needing nursing home care, it would have been protected." "5 years?" Raphael exclaimed. How could we have known she'd need care 5 years in advance? You couldn't, Eleanor acknowledged, which is why estate planning should ideally begin when people are in their 60s, or even earlier. Other options include irrevocable trusts, life estates, certain annuities, or even long-term care insurance if purchased early enough. None of which helps us now, Marissa noted bitterly. I'm afraid that's correct, Victoria said gently. Once someone is already in a nursing home on Medicaid, the planning options are severely limited. So you're saying we should just give up and sell? Raphael's frustration was evident. I'm saying you should make an informed decision based on reality, not wishful thinking, Victoria replied. Fighting this would cost thousands in legal fees with a low probability of success. Selling the house and honoring your mother's wish that you not fight among yourselves might be the wiser course. On the drive home, the siblings processed Victoria's advice in silence. The weight of what could have been, if only they'd known, if only they'd planned better, hung heavy in the air. Mom wouldn't want us to waste money fighting a losing battle, Miguel finally said. No, she wouldn't, Marissa agreed, thinking of the letter. But she also wouldn't want us to be bitter. She'd want us to learn from this and help others avoid the same mistake. Over the next few weeks, they made their decision. They would sell the house, pay the Medicaid lien, and use whatever remained to establish college funds for Ruth's grandchildren. Not the legacy she had envisioned, but a legacy nonetheless. But they also made another decision. They would share their story. They would educate others about what happened so that other families might avoid the same painful surprise. Which is why I'm talking to you now. My name is Marissa Navarro-Collins, and what you've just heard is my family's story. My mother's story. A story that repeats itself thousands of times across this country every year, often to families who had no idea it was coming. The house on Maple Street sold last month. After paying the Medicaid lien and closing costs, we had just under $68,000 to divide, a fraction of what my mother had hoped to leave her grandchildren. But we've made peace with it, because we know Mom received the care she needed. We know the system, imperfect as it is, was there for her when she needed it most. The house on Maple Street is gone. But in my mind, I still hear the porch swing creak. But we also know this. Knowledge is power. Planning ahead matters. Having difficult conversations early matters. So if you're watching this and you have elderly parents, or if you're approaching your later years yourself, please consider these urgent takeaways. This happens every day to families just like yours. Right now, thousands of American families are unknowingly setting themselves up for the same painful surprise we experienced. Medicaid is not free long-term care insurance. It's a loan against your estate that will be collected after death. Planning must begin early, ideally 5 or more years before care is needed. Find an elder law attorney who specializes in Medicaid planning, not just any lawyer. Consider all protective options: long-term care insurance, irrevocable trusts, life estates, or carefully timed asset transfers. Each has different implications that must be understood. Have those difficult family conversations now, not later. Put everything in writing. Make sure everyone understands what Medicaid recovery means for your family's legacy. If Medicaid is already involved, get expert advice immediately about possible exemptions in your state. Even late-stage planning might save some assets. My mother used to say that family is more precious than anything else in this world. She was right. But I also know she would want her story to help other families protect both their relationships and their legacies. The house on Maple Street may no longer be in our family, but the lessons we learned from losing it can help your family hold on to what matters most to you. Don't let what happened to us happen to you. Start planning today. Start talking today, because tomorrow is never guaranteed. If this story has helped you understand something you didn't before, Please help us spread this message by liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Your comments help us know what topics to cover next. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, please share it with them. It might be the most valuable gift you can give.